welcome today. I'm so excited that you joined us today, and I'm super excited of our guest today. Many of you, it's a familiar face. It's Cassandra, and we're here today in our office at the Gilbert campus. And so most of you know Cassandra, but I do want to take just a couple minutes for our newer viewers to share just a little bit about yourself before we get into the peak that you want to share through this journey.
Yeah. I work at Central. I am the kids programming pastor. So basically means I get to write a lot of curriculum and make videos and all the fun stuff. And I've been involved in kids ministry here at Central coming up on 15 years. So it's been a while. My husband works at Central as well. He is the Gilbert campus pastor. And and this is my office full of all my Disney stuff because I do love Disney.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yes, we do know you love Disney. But also, too, on a side note, when you say you do a lot of videotaping, I was showing my grandchildren, you know, the Central Media videotapes, and my grandson says, I know her! I see her on video!
Yes, I am very famous among all the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders.
That's
So,
right.
yes.
You are a celebrity in your own right.
Yes, those are my people.
Yes, those are your, and you do a great job. So thank you for
so
your
much
service
fun.
and the little ones and helping them know Jesus, because that's so important, that foundation.
Yes, it is.
To set the tone so that they know Jesus loves them. So through life, maybe they may choose right away, but there may be a time in their life when they don't, and all of a sudden they wake up when they're 35 and go, oh, I remember.
Just planting those seeds of love, of God's love in their hearts.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I know I really want to thank you in advance for sharing a peek that, you know, you're just kind of in the midst or the tail end of a very trying and sad time for your family, and so I just appreciate you coming and really digging into the peak in the situation. That's been very sad for you and your family, so I'll just let you go ahead and share.
And some of you know what's been happening with John and I, but about in August of last year, John's sister, my sister-in-law, passed away suddenly, and that was a devastating and great loss to our family. It was John's only sister. She and I are the same age, so it was just one of those things.
Just and his only sibling, right?
His only sibling. And our daughter was there when it happened, so she's the one who had to call her dad and say, your sister's passed, like all of those things. There was just it was very traumatic for our family. There was a lot involved. And she lived with John's mom, Jackie. She was the main caretaker for Jackie. So we were now in a new season. And then in late January, Jackie passed away. So that was just grief and loss on top of grief and loss. Again, unexpectedly. It's been a lot. It's just to carry the weight. Again, our daughter lived with both Jackie and Chris, so now our daughter was there alone dealing with this in this big house, and it's a season that we were not expecting to be in. And when you hit the season of grief and loss, you don't expect another tidal wave that's even harder and stronger. It was his mom. So his dad passed away in 2020. Now he lost his sister, his only sibling, and now he's lost his mom. So how am I supporting my husband in this season where he's feeling like his whole nuclear family that he grew up with is gone? And how are we moving forward from this, and how are we grappling with this and processing this, and just all the things that comes along with it that is unexpected and you're just not even prepared for. Because grief does that, it comes out in waves. And you don't know when those waves are going to hit. So it's been a season of there was at the beginning asking a lot of why. A lot of that.
And it's okay. God wants us to grieve. It says in the Bible.
Yes.
We are to grieve, and we can be angry, we can cry, and do all the things so we can go through that process.
But going through that and processing, it's been very interesting, especially working with you and Debbie with the peaks. And it's been very, I know for you guys, thank you guys so much, because there have been times where I feel like I'm always like, oh, I can't be there this week, or I'm out, or oh my gosh, this is going on. So it's been a lot. But because we are going through this, and my mind keeps coming back to peaks, seeing what the peaks have been in this process and time, even, which I know can sound strange. But John and I have talked about this. We've talked about this with friends. The gift that if there was both their times, they were both to pass. The gift of really having a sister pass before his mom, that was a gift. In the way, I know it sounds weird, but in the way where once his sister, like we would go to California, but once his sister passed, we were spending a much more exponential amount of time in California. We were there like every other weekend. We went there for Thanksgiving, which we usually don't do. We made sure to go back for Christmas, which is not something we always do. That's like a once in a while thing. We spent an exceptional amount of time there, and John was talking to his mom instead of just like once a week, talking to her like 3 times a week. If there was a game on, he would talk to her during the game because they love to watch football and basketball. So they would talk so there was so much more of that happening.
So much more connection with him.
So much more connection
so there was
that you lose sometimes, like because you're not there, and you're like,
or the sister's there.
Yes,
so
so she's there, so you're fine. Everybody, we're good, and so we could just come in and touch base once in a while. Where this gave us that beautiful time, and time is such a gift, and you don't realize it's a gift until it's gone.
Right.
And looking back on how we as a family were given that gift, how John specifically was given that gift to be with his mom more, to make more memories. We got to have a last Thanksgiving together. We got to have a last Christmas together. We got to just have these moments that we otherwise would not have had. And so that in itself is such a peak. To be able to just renew that relationship in a way that wouldn't have been renewed if his sister hadn't passed before, and how the circumstances had happened. Yes, we wish they were both with us, but if it had to happen, I am so grateful that we got this gift of time with his mom.
That God knew. I mean, through tragedy too, God knows what we need.
Right.
Because He knows what's going to happen.
Yes. And then if I go back even further a little bit with his sister Chris, we were there like the month before she had passed, and we were going to Disneyland, John and I, because that's what we do. We're in California.
That's their favorite
That's
thing
what we
to
do.
They go.
And she just said, "Hey, can I go with you?" And so we got to spend a day with her in the park, which I can't even remember the last time she wanted to go, I cannot even remember. It has to have been at least 20 years or so. So we just the 3 of us got to spend that one day in the park.
Wow. Yeah.
And he and his sister were able to really talk through some conflict that they had had, and come to a point of peace with one another, and of love with one another. And that, as going to the park was like a month before, their continual conversations, and the peace came like before, and it was just something that you can see God's hand in it, in really giving resolution to a relationship.
Right.
And bringing some peace and some love in a place where, if those things hadn't happened, and you're not leaving the relationship where you really would like to leave it, I couldn't even imagine how much the grief would hit differently.
Yes.
Without having that love.
Right. And all at the time, I'm assuming like you all probably didn't even think much of it. Like,
no.
Because I do know that
not at all.
You guys go quite often to Disneyland, right? Like a lot.
Yeah.
So they
okay. To be fair, my oldest daughter works there, so we get in for free.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah.
So, but several times. So my point is that God's perfect timing.
Yes.
Because your sister-in-law, John's sister, could have gone hundreds of times with you all, but this particular time is when God said, "Go," because He knew the future. And so now looking back, because I know in the midst of it, we were with you, recording a lot, and in the midst of it, I'm just so. I just want to share with the ladies. Impressed, but I know that's not what you meant to do. But just you were sad, but then you didn't allow it to overwhelm your world. Like what I saw, you grieved appropriately, but you still had to do your job. You and John didn't take that much time off, and you really leaned on the Lord to give you that strength, because you had to do things that were difficult, the finances and all the things that you have to do, and from afar, and calling different people. And although difficult, and I'm sure there were times when you and John were crying and grieving, but it didn't cripple you, is what I want to say. And it's because you have Jesus. Because you have such a strong faith in him, knowing, okay, I'm going to cry, I'm going to grieve, and shouting out to him like, why? And then all of a sudden, okay, you're with me through this, so what do I do next?
Right, and they're both believers.
Yes.
We know that they're in heaven. They're no longer in pain.
Right.
They're both dancing with Jesus.
With new bodies.
And all this stuff.
And,
so they're great.
Yeah.
We, the ones left behind, like, this is the moment, this is hard. But knowing that they are in such a better place, knowing the fact that John and I we were able to be in the room when Jackie passed, and that is such a gift, and it was such a peaceful passing, and he got to hold her hand.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we got just to be in that sacred space as one soul leaves this earth to heaven. It's a beautiful sacred space, or can be a beautiful sacred space.
Yeah.
And that was a gift. That was hard, but at the same time, it was such a peak. It was such a gift. It was, and it was God just lavishing out his love on John and I, even in the hardest of times. He was right there.
Right. Yeah, so many times, ladies, as you're listening, if you are going through a hard time, just remember that God is with you, that Jesus is with you. He promises that he will walk with you during the hard times. And I know in Scripture it says, oh, be grateful in all things. And so from my perspective, and I know I read this from, some Bible book I was reading, that God's not asking us to be grateful for this hardship or this, but be grateful that he's right here with us, and he's walking side by side through the grief. Because we are promised grief, challenges, things happening in the world that we don't like, or that are very hurtful or painful. But his promise is he's always going to be with us.
Always.
And I know you intentionally through this process, when we talked with you, we did videotapes, so she was always there. She just didn't think she was, but she was really always with us. And
I know I came one day, I said, wait, I have to film today? Okay.
But always came with just such a positive attitude, and even though you could tell that maybe she wasn't feeling the best that day, I just knew that Jesus was in you, and you allowed him, and you allowed us to love on you. And if you didn't want to record, we said don't record. You didn't have to, but you did. You did anyway, and because God knows. And it was a beautiful recording, and it was very meaningful that time that you recorded. With Jamie.
Yeah.
So, anyway, ladies, if you're going through a hard time, just know that
you're not alone.
Yes, and it's a gift. You'll look back and you'll see how God has prepared you for such a time as this, and that he will get you through it. But then also, what I do know that you, because when you did talk about the funeral that you had for John's mom, you had such a strong community of people that were there for you.
Oh my gosh.
So community is what we talk about. So share a little bit about that community.
Yeah,
and
that was
how that happened.
And again, I know it sounds odd, but the funeral was such a beautiful moment for us. So I'm from Canada, so I had my parent. I was born in Canada, so I'm very close with my sister and her husband and their kids, and then we used to live in California. So we have some really tight knit friends in California who live right where near where the funeral was, and then we also have community here. And so what happened was all of our community came together, and this is community, they hear us talk about each other, but they all got to see each other and meet each other for the first time. So like, oh, we got to meet your sister, we got to meet I'm originally from LA, or my dad was originally from LA, so I have aunts and uncles and cousins in LA. So they came to the funeral, and they got to meet my friends from here, or they got to meet. So everyone, my Arizona peeps, my California peeps and California family, and my Canadian family all got together in one space. We had people who just did a turnaround trip and drove out for the funeral and drove right back.
Awesome.
So that just being surrounded by so much love and all of our people, and all of our people meeting each other for the first time, and just being there to support our family.
Right.
It was incredible and amazing. Yeah.
The power of community.
Yeah. It's so important. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It really was. Yeah.
So, and then I do know the next day you all went and had a good time.
Yes.
We went back to Disneyland.
We went back to Disneyland. My sister, my daughter got us in, and we went and we just spent the day laughing and giggling and remembering family and talking about the last time when John was there with his mom and how his mom would ride the train and just all the memories. And it was just
That's
a
awesome.
beautiful day just to walk around the park and remember Jackie and Chris. Yeah, in a fun way.
A celebration of life, for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was glorious.
That's awesome. So, well, before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to share about going through a difficult time?
I don't think so. I do want everyone to hear this, though, that don't forget you are not alone. You are never, ever alone.
Absolutely.
You need to grieve. You need to cry. If you need to yell out, yell out. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be frustrated. Just don't hold on to those feelings forever.
Right.
And talk to God about it. Give those feelings over to God and talk to Him about it. Talk to your friends about it. Talk to your family about it. Talk to those people about it who, I knew I could talk to you, girl, and you'd be like, no, you weren't going to be like, oh, that Cassandra. No, you're going to sit with me. Exactly. Find friends who are going to sit with you in that space, who are just going to have empathy for you and sit with you in that space and grieve with you and alongside you. Because we didn't see the peak in the moment, but when you look back on it, that's when you see, oh, I can see God's hand in all of that, and I can see His love and His grace, and He gave us the gift of time, which is just the most beautiful gift is time.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and so ladies too, community, and so Central Women, no matter what campus you're on, has women's groups meeting all the time, and so I just encourage you, if you're not in one, that you find one that interests you. You can reach out to us too. You can message us, and we're more than happy to connect you, because really community, definitely for women, just is so powerful, and until you experience it, you never want to be without it. So we're just so grateful that you joined us today, and whatever season you're in, we just want you to lift your hands up to the Lord and thank Him and rejoice in His name, because He's always with us and always will be. He made that promise to us. And so if you haven't, we want them to subscribe to YouTube,
follow us,
that's right,
like
follow
it.
us.
Yes, all those things.
Right, and download the podcast, and so that it comes every week, so every Tuesday. So we just want to thank you so much, ladies, and may God richly bless you, and take good care.